A lot of smart homes are built on a fragmented model. Dozens of different apps, all relying on different external servers to function. This creates lag, reliability issues, and the inability to get devices from different brands to actually work together. Plus, you're often stuck with unwanted subscriptions that you forget to cancel for years. The alternative is a centralized, local smart home controller. This is Home Assistant. It's an open source platform that brings your devices into a single, private environment that you have full control over. In my Getting to Know Home Assistant series, we're building a smart home foundation from the ground up. We'll start with the basics, choosing your hardware, and ways to help secure it. From there, we'll move into organizing your devices, setting up your first simple automations, and eventually, as you get comfortable, we'll explore advanced projects like local voice control or even using AI for facial recognition. This series is meant to grow with your setup, so there's something here for everyone, regardless of your experience. In this first video, we're looking at what Home Assistant is, the practical ways it can make your life easier, and the different hardware options you can use to get your smart home up and running. At its core, Home Assistant is the universal translator for your smart home. Most people have devices from several different manufacturers that don't talk to each other. With Home Assistant, you're able to bridge that gap. This means you can add Z-Wave, Zigbee, and Matter devices all in the same smart home hub. That also has the ability to interact with your SwitchBot or Govee devices while also being able to control your robot lawnmower or 3D printer. Because it runs locally on your own network, it doesn't need to send data to a server across the country just to turn on your kitchen light. This makes it faster, private, and significantly more reliable than cloud-based apps. It also means that if your internet goes out, your home keeps functioning. Your automations, your schedules, and your control stays right where it belongs, inside your four walls. Take note that while Home Assistant itself and the vast majority of devices and integrations that run on it do not require internet connectivity, some may be reliant on the internet. For example, in order to be able to control my robot lawnmower, Home Assistant needs to talk to the Husqvarna servers over the internet to send commands and get status updates. With Home Assistant being open source and community driven, it has support for thousands of devices, even older ones that the original manufacturers may have stopped supporting years ago. Home Assistant also has the ability to create some very great looking dashboards that can be dynamic, and show you the things you want when you need them, without lots of clutter. It's amazing seeing what others have done with Home Assistant dashboards. There are lots of resources out there to help get started building your dream smart home dashboard. The real power of Home Assistant isn't just controlling devices with your phone, it's making them work without you. Some of my first and still favorite automations involve controlling closet lights automatically when the door is opened or closed, or having an entryway light turn on if the door is opened but only after sunset. It can also monitor your not-so-smart appliances. By tracking the energy usage of your washer or dryer, the house can notify you exactly when the cycle is done.
Incoming broadcast. It says, the washer has finished running.
So you never forget a load of wet laundry again. And once you start tracking your device's energy usage, you can start to obsess over just how much power your home is actually using. Home Assistant can even help manage your home's health, like automatically running the HVAC fan if CO2 levels get too high in your bedroom, or turning on an air purifier if PM levels get too high. Over the last several years, I've been adding sensors inside and outside my home so I can get real-time actionable information on air quality that helps control automations that make the air I'm breathing better for myself and my family. While fun to get set up and working, these aren't just toys. They are tools that save you time and energy so that you can spend your time on more important things. To make these automations happen, you need a dedicated machine to run the Home Assistant software at all times. You don't want to run this on your computer. You want a low-power, high-reliability brain for the house. Let's take a look at some popular hardware options that you can run Home Assistant on. For most people starting out today, there are three main paths. The first path is essentially an easy button and an option I like, the Home Assistant Green. At roughly $159 USD, this is a dedicated appliance with a 1.8 GHz quad-core CPU, 4 GB of RAM, and 32 GB of internal storage. It's silent, sips less than 3 watts of power, and it's one of few options that truly is plug and play, as it comes preloaded with Home Assistant already installed. To get started with the Home Assistant Green, you just plug it into power and your network. Download the app or use a web browser for initial setup, and you're ready to go. It also comes with 2 built-in USB ports, so you can easily add some antennas if you want to add Zigbee or Z-Wave devices to your home. The second option for running Home Assistant is on a Raspberry Pi. This one is more of a DIY option, as you'll have to load the OS yourself, and you'll need to make sure you have the appropriate case with cooling, storage, and power for it. With the Raspberry Pi, you have a few different options to pick from, but I would strongly encourage considering the 5, so your smart home hub is future-proof for several years. The 4 can also work well too. Just keep an eye out on the different models, as they have different RAM amounts available. A quick tech tip: when running Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi, make sure not to use an SD card. SD cards are not designed for the constant data writing that Home Assistant requires. They will fail, and they will take your whole house down with them. Always use a NVMe SSD and a PCI hat. It adds to the cost, but it's the only way to make the Pi setup reliable. The third option is an Intel N100 mini PC. These x86 machines are incredibly efficient, while offering modest performance improvements over Raspberry Pi options. This is a great option if you want to plan for lots of growth with your smart home. If you plan on running a bunch of security cameras or local AI voice control, this has the growth potential you'll need. One downside to the Intel N100 options is just that there are so many different options you can buy, so you'll definitely want to make sure you do all your own research on what you need before buying. For me personally, I've been running Home Assistant for the last several years on a Home Assistant Yellow, which unfortunately is no longer sold. It is a device similar to the Home Assistant Green, but with some more power under the hood. Basically, it's a cross between the Home Assistant Green and a Raspberry Pi. There are also a few other ways you can run Home Assistant that we didn't cover today, such as virtualizing it and running Home Assistant on a hypervisor, or as a Docker container. No matter which one you pick, you really want it to be plugged into your network. You really don't want to run the brain of your house on Wi-Fi. If you absolutely can't plug into Ethernet, that can still be okay. Just make sure your wireless coverage is really good, that the Home Assistant hardware you're using supports wireless connectivity, and keep in mind that you may run into challenges with things working the way you want. Once you've chosen your hub and plugged it in, the hardware journey isn't over. A smart home is only as good as the devices that connect to it. In the next video of my Getting to Know Home Assistant series, we're diving into the smart home connectivity map. We'll break down the hardware radios you can add to Home Assistant, from Zigbee and Z-Wave to the latest in Matter and Thread, so that you can build a stable, local backbone for your home. If you want to follow along with this series, make sure to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you don't miss the next video. Until then, thank you for watching, and as always, happy automating.